Mackenzie Johnston here today with the Tri-State Livestock News, talking with Shane Kaczor of Bassett Livestock Auction. He is part owner of this barn with Jake Maurer. How are things up here in Bassett today?
It's a pretty good day. The sun's shining at least.
Warm day. So Shane, let's start off with a heavy-hitting question. What do you feel are the major issues facing the industry today?
I think packer consolidation. I think formula cattle is probably would be first on my list. I think if you really want to fix this thing, we have to do something about the formula cattle. It would be nice to completely do away with all of it, but I don't think that's ever going to happen. So I've got on board with the 30-14 that Corbitt Wall has been pushing. We've also got on board with the 50% that Bill Bullard has been pushing. I think they're both good. Obviously, more is better, but we are on board with whoever can get something done.
Before we started this interview, we were talking a little bit about the markets as a whole, and we touched on the CME. What is your take on the CME when it comes to risk protection? How do you feel? Do you feel the CME is doing its part to provide risk protection?
I do not. I do not feel that it is a useful tool anymore. I've talked to a lot of people about what could be done about that, and nobody really seems to have the answer. I think the corruption and abuses of it have to be fixed, or you do away with it, because it is just not a useful tool.
Right. How do you feel this cattle market situation is affecting, or is going to affect, this area on a whole, on a large scale?
I think small town rural America is in trouble because of it. I think it has to affect every dealership, any business in town. When you take, yesterday we're selling fall calves, and if you'd have took all your calves to town yesterday, they probably averaged somewhere in the 700 to low 8s. And a few years back, you were looking at $1,300 to $1,500. And so nobody has any disposable income.
What's your outlook on calves this fall?
I'm the eternal optimist. I always say this thing's going to get better. I don't know. I really don't. There's so many things that's going to change, that has to change between now and then for this to get better. I still think we'll be in a lot better place come fall than we are today. We get the packing plants all open back up and the country back on its feet and going. I think there's better days to come. We all know in this part of the world that there's not as many cows in the country as there was a few years back. And so that's in our favor.
How do you feel we create more competition within these cattle markets?
I think it has to come from negotiated cash, because what happens is when you sell your feeder cattle here at auction, there's feed yards, there's guys that are gonna maybe run some on grass, there's backgrounders. They all come here and they bid on your cattle, and there's price discovery. By the time they're fat, there's really no price discovery. You're lucky if you're a small feedlot to even get one packer to pull in the yard. And as the way things are right now, they don't need the cattle. We're killing at 60% capacity, I believe, is what USDA said. So with the formula cattle that they have, they don't need to come bid on your cattle. So something has to change there. And that's why I believe they have to do something with the negotiated cash, a certain percent, whether it's 30, whether it's 50, whatever we can get done. Because like I said, by the time them are fat, these farmer feeders come out here and bid aggressively at auction to own them. By the time they take them back to eastern Nebraska or Iowa and they're fat, they can't hardly get anybody to come look at them. There's no bidding takes place. They're told what they're going to get out of them.
Yeah. So you've owned this barn, partnered in this barn for the past 5 years.
Correct.
Through those 5 years, what changes have you seen with these cattle markets?
We come at about the all-time high. And so within a month of us taking over, they sold the highest priced commercial bred females in the United States, I believe. Here's what I was told. I know they bring like $4,850. We can't sell anything bred now for close to $2,000, so that's a big change. The year that we'd come here, we started in January, February. That fall, there was yearlings bring over $2,200–$2,300 coming off grass. In the last 2 years, we haven't sold a yearling over $1,500. So they just completely took all the profit out of it for everybody in the chain, from the cow-calf guy to the backgrounder or the grass, the yearling guy, the heifer development guy. He's lost all of his equity.
Yeah. As you've seen, maybe you've seen, I don't know if you're on social media, R-Calf came out with a petition last Thursday urging President Trump to reinstate mandatory country of origin labeling. How do you feel about that?
I think it's very important. I think it's very tough for us to compete with these countries shipping in meat here when they, me and you were just talking a while ago, if at my ranch, if I want to hire some help for the day, it's $150 minimum, really, to get somebody come and help you. And in other countries, they're getting help for under $10 a day. And so how do you compete with that? You can't. So to me, country of origin labeling, at least if we can distinguish our better product from everybody else's, we have a chance. We can ask a little more money for it. I'd still believe that the American housewife will pay a little more to know that she's buying a superior product that come from, was born, raised, and slaughtered in the United States. Shoot, it's on everything else. If you go to Baumgart's and want to buy a pair of fencing pliers, it says right on there what country they were made. Why isn't our beef?
Very good question.
So
when we work through all these backlog cattle and box beef gets back to normal, hopefully, how do you feel that's going to affect the cattle markets?
Well, as box beef comes down off its record high, I'm afraid the futures will follow it down. There'll be some bad days. Of course, we all know that as box beef went through the roof, the futures did not go up with it. But all it takes is a little bit of bad news, and the CME Board of Trade goes crashing down. And that goes back to what we talked about a little bit ago about how broke that is. It's not a viable tool anymore.
Yeah. So you mentioned that that basically there's not a level playing field for producers here in America versus the foreign producers regarding MCool. Elaborate a little bit on the inputs, the high inputs that folks are facing here.
As you know, and I ranch in the state of Nebraska as well. And at my ranch, the land tax is $100 a cow a year. That is just in land tax that we already own or are paying for.
If you could sum it up in one sentence, what does the cattle industry need most right now?
I think a few things. Negotiated cash, and we've touched base on that. I think breaking up America's 4 largest packers. In 1905, when Teddy Roosevelt did it, there was 6 packers controlled 50% of the market. Now, today, we have 4 packers controlling over 70% of the market. It's very easy for them to price fix when there's only 4 of them.
Great. All right, with that, Shane, I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy day, and be sure to stay tuned for more interviews on the way.